In the early 1800s, America was expanding rapidly. Cities were growing, factories and ironworks were appearing. Across northern New Jersey, an industrial economy was beginning to take shape. But there was a serious problem. Industry needed enormous amounts of fuel and raw materials, and moving heavy freight across the region was slow, difficult, and extremely expensive. The roads were dirt tracks, and railroads had not yet developed into a transportation system capable of solving the problem. For most heavy freight, transportation depended upon horses, wagons, and rivers. Moving heavy freight by horse and wagon was enormously expensive. In the early 1800s, the cost depended on the distance traveled, the condition of the roads, mountainous terrain, tolls, weather, and the season. A journey of 100 miles could cost the equivalent of hundreds of dollars today for just a single ton of freight. For heavy commodities such as iron, lumber, stone, and coal, transportation costs could become so high that hauling them long distances by wagon was simply uneconomical. Meanwhile, beneath the mountains of northeastern Pennsylvania lay an extraordinary natural resource, anthracite, or hard coal. Early settlers documented deposits of this unusual black rock, which could be found in exposed seams along hillsides, stream beds, and rocky outcroppings. As the region developed, people began extracting the coal on a small scale, and eventually mining operations expanded to reach the enormous deposits buried beneath the mountains. At first, anthracite was difficult to ignite, and its value as a fuel was not fully understood. But as improved grates, furnaces, and burning techniques were developed, its extraordinary potential became clear. Anthracite burned with intense, sustained heat and relatively little smoke. As demand grew, Pennsylvania's vast anthracite deposits became an increasingly valuable source of energy and a resource that needed an efficient way to reach the growing industries and markets to the east. Before coal became widely available, much of America depended heavily upon wood. Homes and businesses burned wood for heat. Iron furnaces traditionally consumed enormous quantities of charcoal manufactured from timber. Workers cut trees, stacked the wood into large mounds, and slowly burned it with limited oxygen to produce charcoal. Keeping iron furnaces supplied required tremendous amounts of timber. Anthracite offered an abundant and concentrated alternative source of energy. There was only one major problem. The coal was in Pennsylvania. The growing markets were to the east. Between them stood the Delaware River and the mountains of northern New Jersey. In Morristown, New Jersey, a businessman named George P. McCulloch began thinking seriously about the problem. In 1822, McCulloch promoted an extraordinary idea. Create a water transportation route across northern New Jersey, connecting the Delaware River and Pennsylvania trade with the growing markets to the east. A canal could move heavy freight far more efficiently than wagons. But there was a problem. Northern New Jersey was anything but flat. The proposed waterway would somehow have to climb hundreds of feet into the New Jersey highlands, cross the elevated interior of the state, and descend again toward the east. How do you build a canal that has to climb a mountain? Before construction could begin, surveyors and engineers had to find a route. They crossed forests, farms, rivers, and mountains, carefully measuring distance and elevation. Every foot mattered. Engineers had to determine where the canal could follow the natural contours of the land, where locks would be required, where aqueducts would carry the canal across rivers, and where reservoirs and feeder waterways could provide the enormous amount of water the system needed. The greatest challenge was elevation. The solution would make the Morris Canal famous: inclined planes. Instead of using an endless staircase of locks, engineers would create mechanical railways capable of moving entire canal boats between different elevations. In 1824, the New Jersey legislature chartered the Morris Canal and Banking Company. Now the task of construction could begin. There were no bulldozers, no hydraulic excavators, no modern earth-moving machinery. Workers cleared the route with axes and saws. Laborers excavated earth with picks and shovels. Horse-drawn carts carried soil and rock away. Where solid rock blocked the route, workers drilled holes by hand and blasted through it using black powder. Stonemasons constructed locks, retaining walls, bridge abutments, culverts, and aqueducts. Carpenters built gates, bridges, and wooden mechanical structures. Across northern New Jersey, an artificial waterway was slowly being carved through the landscape. The most extraordinary structures were the inclined planes. Massive foundations were built into the hillsides, with railways climbing steep grades between separate levels of the canal. But what powered these remarkable machines? Water. At the higher elevations, water stored in the canal system and its reservoirs was directed through channels to powerful water wheels located at the inclined planes. The force of the falling water turned these wheels, which powered large drums and gearing connected to heavy cables. As the machinery turned, the cables pulled a wheeled cradle carrying the heavily loaded canal boat up the steep inclined railway to the next level of the canal. The system used gravity and the controlled fall of water to provide the tremendous mechanical power needed to move boats weighing many tons uphill. Near the summit of the route, Lake Hopatcong served as a crucial source of water for the canal system. At the western end of the Morris Canal stood Phillipsburg, New Jersey, directly across the Delaware River from eastern Pennsylvania. This was the canal's gateway to Pennsylvania trade. Anthracite coal and other freight reaching the Delaware transportation network could now be transferred into the Morris Canal system for the journey east. Coal was particularly suited to canal transportation. Once loaded, the canal boat began its journey east. Along relatively level sections, a horse or mule walking beside the canal pulled the boat using a long tow line. The difference was remarkable. An animal that could haul only a relatively limited load over a rough road could pull a boat carrying many tons when that load was floating in water. But the easy part of the journey would not last. Ahead were the mountains. Smaller changes in elevation were handled by conventional locks. The boat entered a stone chamber. Massive wooden gates closed behind it. Water flowed into the chamber, and as the water rose, the entire loaded boat rose with it. When the water reached the level of the canal above, the upper gates opened. The boat continued its journey. But the steepest sections required something far more dramatic. Ahead stood an inclined plane. The canal appeared to end at the foot of a steep hillside. Above it was another section of canal at a much higher elevation. Between them ran a railway. The loaded boat approached the inclined plane system and was positioned so that it could be transported uphill. The cargo remained aboard. Water-powered machinery engaged. Cables moved. And then something extraordinary happened. An entire canal boat, carrying tons of freight, began climbing the side of a mountain. At the top of the plane, the boat reached another section of canal at a higher elevation. It returned to the water and continued east. Again and again, the process was repeated. Canal, lock, inclined plane, higher water. Then another climb. Plane by plane and lock by lock, boats carrying tons of freight climbed through the New Jersey highlands. Eventually, they reached the summit region near Lake Hopatcong, more than 900 feet above sea level. A boat that had begun near the Delaware River had effectively traveled up and over the mountains of New Jersey. From the summit, eastbound boats began their long descent toward eastern New Jersey. Inclined planes lowered boats from higher sections to lower ones, while locks handled smaller changes in elevation. But traffic did not move in only one direction. While great quantities of coal and other freight traveled east toward Newark, Jersey City, and New York Harbor, canal boats also carried goods westward across New Jersey toward Phillipsburg and markets beyond the Delaware. Along its 102-mile route, 23 inclined planes and 23 locks carried boats through a combined rise and fall of more than 1,600 vertical feet. The world-famous Morris Canal had accomplished something once thought nearly impossible. freight could now travel in both directions across the mountains of northern New Jersey. It was, in effect, a water highway over the mountains.